This is Marketing Uncomplicated. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. I have an amazing woman, Jasmine Glover, who is a dynamic force in the financial service industry. She brings a wealth of expertise and a proven track record of success. With a passion for empowering her community through financial literacy, Jasmine has seamlessly transitioned from her original aspiration of becoming an accountant to excelling as a dedicated financial advisor and more recently, content creator. If you guys follow her on social media, which you hopefully will after the show, she coins herself as the Beyoncé of the financial world. Having honed her skills during her tenure at Foster's, now Cetera Investors, Prudential, and Alliance Global Partners, Jasmine has amassed invaluable experience in serving both high net worth individuals and everyday families since 2011. Financial planning as it relates to you guys as small business owners, entrepreneurs, tech startup individuals, and how that can go through from a budgeting, college planning, retirement planning, investment portfolio services, life insurance planning, estate planning, and wealth transfer. Welcome, Jasmine. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you. I'm happy to be a part. Happy to be a part.
Love this. With every guest that I have, I always take a step back to talk about, their passion in terms of what they're doing. So how you came about, in terms of joining into this financial world and what really gets you up every day and what drives you to push forward.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, so as you mentioned before, the goal was to be the previous goal before the first goal was to be an entertainer, like either an actress or something where I'm in front of a camera, right? Long story short, fast forward, I ended up having my son young and didn't really have a direction as to what I wanted to do with my life. So I went to college, I studied accounting, but prior to graduating, about a year and a half before graduating, this investment firm found me. And I didn't know what I was doing. All I knew was I was going to be a stockbroker, right? So they told
Yeah.
me. And I was going to make a lot of money. So it sounded good because I didn't come from money. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
hey, let's go ahead and just get into this field. What I didn't know was when I was practicing and I'm sitting with people, going with my mentor. He's taking me on these meetings. We're sitting with live everyday people, live everyday business owners that have financial concerns, financial challenges. And I fell in love with the ability to be able to connect with these individuals while still helping them get to an end goal or accomplishing an end goal with their finances. So I found purpose and gratification in that. And 14 years later, here I am.
I love it.
Every day getting up. I mean, sometimes it's hard. Every time you get up, it's like, okay, it's the same routine, it's the same mundane, but the people make it interesting because everybody that I sit down with, because I started so young, everybody has a story, everybody has a piece of wisdom, everybody has something that we can kind of really take from and learn from.
Mhm.
And then in turn, me as a financial professional, I'm able to pour into their lives as well. So that helps me and continues the grit with me to keep going.
Yeah, I love it. The grit to the great, right?
Right.
Yeah. So from the jumping into why this is so relevant and important, specifically for those who have either started a business or about to like jump ship out of a 9 to 5 and like get going, there obviously isn't the cushion of knowing that you're going to have a paycheck that rolls in every month, right?
Right.
So this is hyper crucial because if you're not just starting a business as an individual or a single person and you have a family, potentially with a husband or a wife or children, then these things are important to kind of look towards and build and plan, just because there is also going to be an investment into your business as well as investment for your life and into your life. So with folks like that, walk us through a little bit in terms of your day to day, and how you support somebody, not just from a high net worth, or that person could be a high net worth individual starting a business. But what does that sort of intake look like from kind of, the start of having the conversation with the client and then the build up in terms of, moving through the whole entire process?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even with me, all I knew was commission growing up, right? So it was never, or in the working world. So it was never like, I would say, uh, that plan for me to say, hey, Jasmine, you have a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks or every month or so, and this is what you need to put in place. I learned the other way around. So now that I've learned that, I think that having that foundation, that financial literacy foundation, And
So what
just the
you went, not to interrupt you, what you meant the other way around is that you had a percentage in mind of what you wanted to put in, regardless of what you were making.
correct.
Okay. That's great.
I mean, listen, I grew up in the way that I was raised with my
Yeah.
finances was I've been working since I've been 14, 15 years old,
Yeah.
right? But most of my paychecks, even before getting into the whole financial planning field, it was it was commission checks. My paycheck was never guaranteed. My
Yep.
paycheck was never the same amount. So it was like figuring out, oh well, I'll get paid next week. It's okay. I was just going by the seat of my pants. So there was never a plan in place. But because of that experience and because I actually went through the wrong way of how to start, planning businesses and, putting a budget together for marketing or putting a budget together for like operational expenses or whatever,
Yeah.
I know the do's and don'ts, right? So for somebody just stepping out of a 9 to 5 or a guaranteed or comfort space, I'd say you need to know exactly where you are on a personal level, and then we can apply that to the business level. So let me explain. So when I'm sitting with an individual, there's 5 specific areas, right, or 5 pieces to, let's just imagine a pizza or a whole pie, right? The foundation of that, one of the 5 pieces will be your cash management, right? So your cash management is having a budget for whatever it is or whatever your expenses are. You need to have a good, strong suit on the inflows and the outflows of that budget, right? Or the cash flow. And then there should be a savings fund or emergency fund, right? Anywhere from 3 to 6 months of your monthly salary. Okay. Then we go into the whole risk management aspect. That's the second piece of the pie. The risk management will be, planning for inflation. The cost of living continues to go up. So what are we doing to combat that or at least keep the same pace with inflation? Then you have taxes. Taxes is never going anywhere, right? So you got to
Yeah.
make sure that you have like the proper tools, the proper assets in place to kind of we can't get away from paying Uncle Sam altogether, but there are so many loopholes that
Yes.
we can get into to
Yeah.
not do so much. You got market risk, right? If you're investing, you want to make sure your assets are diversified. You got disability. You got if something happens, that God forbid, knock on wood, you pass away, what's going to happen to your family, right? That's the second piece. The third piece is accumulation. You're going to have a flexible pool of money outside of your emergency fund, outside of your retirement, just for bigger purchases. So if you have sometimes I have clients that just want to build more into their real estate portfolio. Maybe if we're applying this whole concept of the business aspect, maybe they want to buy new machinery, whatever that may
Mm-hmm.
be. You
Mm-hmm.
got to have something in place for those things. The fourth piece is retirement planning. So making sure you have like a goal in mind. What does retirement look like? Do I want to travel? Do I want to spend more time with nonprofit organizations? Do I want to spend time with, what does it like painting that picture for yourself? And then once you have that picture in mind, what do we put in place or move around to make sure we can uh, live that picture that we have in our mind, right?
Yeah.
And then that fifth piece is estate planning. So you have your wills, your trusts, anything that will kind of help transfer any wealth that you have to your beneficiaries, to any nonprofit organizations, and to anyone that you just feel you want to help out. So that's on the personal level. But that same pie, once you have that intact and you have it in place, and you're secure in your finances with your emergency fund, you're secure with making sure that your insurance plans are in place. If you were to lose your paycheck, you have something to kind of replace that because bills continue to come, right? They continue to build up. So what do you have in place? So I think that once all of that is in place, then you make that transition over into the business side of it. And then you take that same mindset and you say, okay, my business now, this is one entity. So
Yeah.
now how do I plan to make sure my business is financially whole or my business is financially stable? Obviously, in the first 1 to 3 years, it'll be a little tough because you're still kind of building the clientele, you're building the customer base, you're your revenue may not be consistent. So yes, there are some hiccups, but that's why the financial side and the personal side needs to be stable.
Yes.
So I mean, naturally as a business owner, you have a risk taker mindset, right? Because it's like, hey, I'm gonna just go from this level of comfort and say, hey, I'm gonna go out there and I know it's gonna work out because I have a plan, I have faith, and I know it's just gonna work. The universe
Yeah.
is gonna pay me for it. But I also think that the logical side of you as well, the left side of your brain, has to be able to communicate with the right side of your brain, the risk taker, and say, hey, this is what we're going to do to support the risk taker side of you.
True.
I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that steps out is definitely a risk taker, and I'm not saying that people who stay in a 9 to 5 are more sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Complacent, because I mean, people
Right.
thrive in a 9 to 5, and working for some of big larger enterprise companies. But I think that the ones that do step out kind of have a tendency to want to push the boundaries,
Right.
and step outside of their comfort zone, which isn't necessarily going to be easy. I mean, it's a roller coaster ride. We all know that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
the
Right.
pursuit of that, and ensuring that everything is locked and loaded from that standpoint, from the financial, will support you as you're growing your business.
Correct.
What are the
Correct.
5 misconceptions people have, that they think, not necessarily you, but they think are the barriers to entry to work with a financial advisor like yourself?
Cost.
Hmm.
People don't know, and I think because before I got into this industry, I didn't even know this was such a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know there was a such thing as a financial advisor. I think there's cost. I think that's just number two. There's just ignorance, not in a bad way, but you just don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know that these resources are available until you tap outside of the box, right? I think three, people have their own overconfidence, so they think,
Oh, I
okay,
can do
hey,
this myself.
right. So,
Yeah.
and the crazy thing is with social media is such a great platform, especially for
Yeah.
businesses. But I think also
But there's a
there's
lot of
so
noise.
much information, there's so much noise. People just don't know like the basics. And it's funny because I've had wealthier clients reach out and say, "Hey, Jazz, I saw this person post something about you can put this particular plan in place and like not pay any taxes at all." I'm like, "Where'd you hear that from?" "Oh, well, I heard this guru on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok, and I want to do it." And it's
Yeah.
like it doesn't always apply. So sometimes you have to. I think social media and just a lot of the information we have out there sometimes clouds the space,
Yeah.
and people think, okay, hey, I got all this information, all these videos. Now I can just plan on my own. I need to pay an advisor or even consult with one to see that I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
And then I would say maybe just listening to friends and family. Sometimes, you confide in people who you trust and you like a lot, and you're like, okay, well, I got a down pack and I got like validation from the people in my circle. I don't think that I should sit down with another professional. So
Yeah.
I think those are the most common uh, misconceptions that I run into.
Yeah. That's interesting. From what has been sort of the biggest barriers for you in terms of, working with people, and then, from the flip side of them kind of converting them, when they're ready, or what is that aha moment that comes into their mind when you have the consultation with a new prospect, in terms of signing them on and getting them started?
For the
Because
client.
yeah, because I like what you said, when there is that little bit of that ego, like I can do this myself, right? And that may tend to happen with some of the Henrys, like as you coin it, right? Like the high net worth individuals.
Right.
That's what that stands for, right?
High
Yeah.
earners, not rich yet.
High earners. Yeah.
You've been
High.
paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. High earners,
Not rich yet.
not rich yet. So
Yeah.
that's a very important thing, because that's what's going to make that person rich, right? I mean, it's like they're high earners, but they're not rich, so they're obviously not calculating their expenditures, like the flow in, flow out, like as you talked about. And it's really getting them to convert into knowing how to organize their finances, because let's face it, I mean, not all of us are in that sort of space to really try and understand, like, the and it's not even like tips and tricks, but it's like, how do I really make use or make my money work for me without having it just sit there, or just not capitalize on what's flowing into the bank account on a monthly basis? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, definitely. So the funny thing is, people, high Henrys,
Yeah.
they're young, they're making a lot of money. So again, there's
And
that
there's more of them now.
it's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm making the money, I'm paying all of my bills, I'm doing what I want to do, I'm good.
Yeah.
But then when I sit down with them and I go over that same wheel, that same 5 piece pieces of wholeness or financial wholeness, then the light bulbs start going off. Oh, wait, I don't have this. Oh, wait, I haven't secured my paycheck just in case something happens to me. If you're making a $200,000 salary, yeah, you think you're good, but then sometimes the thought comes up, okay, hey, I'm going to be all right. I'm smart and everything I'm doing is working for me. Nothing's going to happen and I'm good.
Yeah.
And boom, just like that, in a year or so, or even in 6 months or tomorrow, you can wake up and that income is gone,
Yeah.
right? Or something changes in your life.
Or you get sick, you know,
Or you
and
get sick,
yeah.
and you're not able to continue the same gist and the grit that you have to continue to earn that income. What are you gonna do then?
Yeah.
Right. So then having those short-term, those long-term disability policies in place to replace that income is very important. So is for me, financial planning is already in itself, I'll be frank with you, boring because it's
Yeah.
like numbers and charts and it's like nobody wants to talk about it.
Sure.
But what helps me and how that I'm able to get through the people, I have a great listening. I have great listening skills. I like to say, and pointing a picture, making a picture, painting that picture for people, and just pointing out the inconsistencies. Being a quarterback. Like when you're on the football field, when you're catching the ball and you're running, all you're thinking about is the end zone, right?
Yeah.
You're not thinking about you don't want to get tackled, but that's why you have your guys on the side that's helping you out, right?
Yeah.
People on your team of defense is going to help you get through to the end. And I'm basically the same thing. I'm your quarterback. I'm your team members. I'm your defense. That's going to help you navigate and see those blind spots that you don't see, so that we can get at the end of the day to the end zone. So for me, the way that I'm able to get through is just, hey, listen, this is you're doing this right, but you don't see this. You're not aware of this, but I am. I'm knowledgeable in this area. Let me help you with you, so it does not get in the way of what we're trying to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
My dog barking as well.
I know. Come on. Sorry, I'll have to edit that out.
No worries.
Day to day.
I know.
Okay, back in it. So we talked about Henry's, we talked about getting started. What can you tell the audience a little more in terms of diving in deeper and as it relates to just the financial planning and the aspect, in conjunction with business. I mean, do you have an example of somebody who is starting out on a business that hasn't done financial planning, or they have? And what are sort of like the ins and the outs in terms of building that like trajectory forward?
For someone just getting or starting into the business, I do have a client right now that she just started her business. She's about 8 months in, I believe.
Yeah.
And this is probably a good case simply because like her expenses are like through the roof, right?
Yes.
So she's taken out
Her
loans.
business expenses.
Her business expenses.
Okay.
Excuse me. Her business expenses are through the
Yes.
roof. She's taken out loans. Business is still slow because it's 8 months in,
Yeah.
so she's still building a customer base or a clientele to generate the revenue that she needs to at least break even and then obviously see a profit. But I think for her, prior to jumping into this business, and this is going back to the whole the personal side, there was no savings per se. There was no cushion. There was no
Hence the loan, I guess.
yeah, hence the
Mhm.
loan.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for a business owner, I think that there needs to be a solid financial, personal financial picture in place. At least have savings.
Yeah.
At least have because once you do your business plan, you kind of have an idea somewhat as to what you're going to be spending on like things for that business, right? So I think once you have those numbers in mind, then you start planning before you jump out on the personal side. Okay, what kind of cushion do I need to have in place to make sure that I can at least carry myself 8 months or a year within the business without maybe taking out a loan? Okay. Because again, there's no guarantee that you'll hit your numbers, you'll hit the number of customers that the clientele that you need.
Yep.
So I think again, everything really falls back on that personal side, making sure you've done the proper planning on that side. And then when you're jumping into the business, hey, every time I get a piece of revenue, I'm taking at least 10 to 20%. I'll throw in the business savings account.
Yeah.
Right. So I have a cushion. I've seen the mistake too where people overspend when they are taking out in the business, or maybe they overdo it per se.
You mean overdo it in the sense of just they kind of, I guess pray and they jump in, they start a business, there's no savings, there's no personal anything in the account. So that's what you mean in terms of like starting from nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, it can work. Again, I've done it.
Sure. Yeah.
I've done it, but it's stressful.
Yeah.
Really, I made it. Thank goodness. Thank God.
Yeah.
Right. But it's such a stressful situation to be in. Because I mean, let's be honest. If your finances are not intact, whether you're on the personal side or the business side, it really creates chaos in your
In your
head, your
mind.
anxious.
Yeah.
You become depressed sometimes if you're not, you don't have the proper tools to get through it. But yes, I think that having that base, that financial literacy base, is really helpful. Sitting down with an advisor, even if you don't hire them.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a lot of advisors that will sit down and do a consultation with you and let you know what you're doing within your business that can help you, or at least help you better manage that financial portfolio on the business side.
Now, from the type of services that you offer, just to like go back, when you do look at somebody's business, for example, this woman who just started her business, she's 8 months in, she's building her clientele, she's building up her customer base. Do you look at what she's charging per like service? And maybe you can say, okay, if you're trying to make X and trying to save Y, then maybe you should look to increase your service by this. I mean, is that the type of advice that you can also help with? Because you're looking at the full picture.
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's not like, I'm not a business consultant per se.
But you can bring somebody in.
Yeah, I would bring, I mean, so as you know, like I network with other professionals because the main core of my business is providing um, financial literacy, obviously, retirement investment services, college planning, insurance protection services, wealth transfer planning, in that sense, business transfer or business continuation strategies. So me saying, hey, let me dig into your balance sheet or your income statement.
Sure.
I'll look at it, yes, because I need to know where your net worth is as far as your business and the valuation of the business if we're considering business continuation.
Yeah.
But as far as the nitty gritty of saying, hey, this product is great, you're charging too small for it, or your fee is too small for what you're giving them, that's not what I would go into too heavily or charge per se, because that's not my specialty.
Yeah.
I just refer out to another professional in my network that can help them in that area.
Yeah. And then join forces to kind of build out that like full robust picture.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I love
and then
it.
once they build it out, and then okay, hey, then I can come in and say, hey, listen, you've grown. You went from 8 months to 5 years into the business. The business is thriving.
Yeah.
You have a surplus of, let's say, $100,000 a year, and now you want to take this $100,000 a year and do something with it for your business, and say, let's say, invest into a retirement plan for you and your employees. Which can also help you on the business side, deduct with deductions of taxes. It'll help your employees. It'll help with employee retention because now they see you're providing benefits.
Yeah.
Now they see that you care about their livelihood. They see that, okay, hey, I have a retirement plan. Like you're now matching into their retirement. There's so many other things that we can do. But yes, we'll definitely pull in another professional to assist us in that area.
Yeah. One of the things, so I obviously like understand the budgeting, the college planning, the retirement planning, investment portfolio services, life insurance planning, and estate planning. Tell us a little bit about wealth transfer. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah. So wealth transfer. So once we've gone over that will, and I wish I had a picture. I should have given you something to imagine it. But
yeah,
a lot of times, if a client has set with a financial advisor and you have that relationship, you build that relationship, there is a high chance there's assets to be transferred.
Sure.
Okay. Most people have either children, grandchildren, maybe a cat, maybe a dog, maybe an organization.
Yeah,
Listen,
we've all seen the Netflix show of that, the world's most wealthiest German Shepherd, the one that was here in Florida. I mean,
let
to
me
come
tell
back
you.
as a dog in a next life, right?
Let me tell you. So I had a friend. I had not a friend, my fiance's mother before
Yes.
she passed. She was taking care of this lady that had two cats, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
She had three sons,
Yeah.
right? So, the lady was like just loaded with money,
Yeah.
right? Just
Yeah.
crazy dumb money for no reason, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So she was sick. His mom was taking care of her. The boys would never come by. They would never call. Every once in a while, they'd find out what's up with her and her situation. Anyways, long story short, fast forward, she passes away. She transferred about $3 million. She had $3 million that she put into a trust, and all of it went to the cat.
To the cats. And so how does that work though? So the
I
cats
know.
have it until they die, and then where does it go? It just sits there?
Then she had a contingency fund. So, okay, let's go back to the question. So, wealth
Very
transfer. So,
interesting.
chances are you have the wealth,
Yeah.
you've accumulated something. So, now what do I do with it, right? So, obviously, I mean, if some people are different, everybody's different. But if you, let's say you have millions of assets and you have some like $600,000 into a retirement account, you'd obviously label a beneficiary. But then the rest of it is between properties and businesses and just say brokerage accounts. This is when trust will come into play because trusts don't really go through a probate process,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Once something happens, a client passes away, then what will happen is that, okay, hey, she's passed away. We'll present the death certificate to the company or the brokerage firm that holds the trust and its assets. Because most people, when they open a trust, they'll transfer everything in the trust, but then any cash and any like monies that's in a bank account goes into some type of investment account,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you would present the company or whoever holds the trust with the death certificate, and then the company just follows the instructions of the trust, right? There's
Got
no
it.
probate
Okay.
process,
Yeah.
right? I've seen clients or situations where they don't have anybody to list on or let's just say on a retirement account.
Yeah.
That retirement account, say if it has $500,000 in it or $1 million in it, that's going to go to probate, which is an expensive process.
Process.
It's
Yeah.
also a lengthy process,
Yeah.
which is the headache to go through if you don't have the correct attorney working with you or the proper estate planning attorney working with you.
Yeah.
And it just creates a whole headache, right? So
Interesting.
this is why I say, hey, listen, you need, and situations change. Beneficiaries could pass away. You can fall out with this particular beneficiary that you assigned 2 years ago, and you say, okay, you know what, we're not working out. But if you don't update it, guess what? You pass away, that money still
Yeah,
goes.
totally.
So I think that obviously you have to have these proper documents in place, whether it's a will or a trust. Which one do you have? Depends upon how much assets you have, how many people you're looking to disperse the assets to.
Got it.
Um, all that. It's just so much. It's such a
Sure.
large space because everybody has different situations, a different picture.
Yeah.
But I would say to anyone, when you sit down with an advisor, you sit down with an estate planning attorney, just make sure that you're including all of your assets, that you're reviewing your assets on an annual basis, or maybe every 2 to 5 years,
Yeah.
end up meeting those particular beneficiaries that you're going to give your assets to.
Yeah.
Life insurance is a great wealth transfer tool as well. So with our ultra net, or excuse me, my shirt is coming apart. Give me a
That's okay.
second. Um, so we have an ultra wealthy client had like I want to say about 1.2 million dollars in all retirement assets, right?
Okay.
Nothing else. Had a
Yeah.
property or two, blah blah blah, but that was pretty much panned out. But when you have a retirement account, Uncle Sam never touches. Let me go back. So you have a retirement account. The purpose behind a retirement account is obviously to save for retirement for the long run. But the benefit to having a retirement plan is one of the benefits is tax deferral, right? The
Mm-hmm.
benefits of tax deferral. So, for instance, if I have an IRA, I can max up to $7,000 into the IRA. Then I can then go back with my accountant or my tax preparer and deduct that same $7,000 that I was putting into the plan. So now, where I was making $100,000, now my income shows I'm 893.
Yeah.
Every single year I do that. So every single year I'm deducting $7,000 a year from my income. The problem here, or not problem, but the challenge you face is now you've accumulated $1.2 million with the growth of the market or whatever you put your assets into, acquired all this money on a tax deferred basis. Uncle Sam has never touched it. So now, when you become a certain age, the age now is 72,
Yeah.
if you have never touched the money because it's never been taxed, Uncle Sam's like, okay, I need my money now. Well,
Yeah.
you're going to tap into this account, right?
Yeah.
So eventually, if you're one of those people who don't need the money, you'll either face a penalty if you don't touch it by the age of 72, right? Or
Interesting.
Uncle Sam's going to eventually, right? And usually that penalty is whatever the amount of what they call, it's called a required minimum distribution, meaning
Okay.
this is what you should be taking out of your retirement by the age of 72, because I've never taxed it before, right? And let's just say your required minimum distribution for that year is $100,000. You don't take it that year,
Yeah.
you're penalized 50% of that amount. So
Yeah.
$50,000 automatically will be penalized to you, to you by the IRS.
Yeah.
So with this particular situation, this couple knew that they were never going to touch this money, right? But they still wanted to make sure that their beneficiaries received this money. So we did what we called insurance. We put an insurance plan in place, right? So this particular insurance plan, where the children would the children would inherit, let's say, $1.2 million of all taxable money.
Yeah.
Instead, we took the $1.2 million and did a one-time premium into an insurance. The $1.2 million of the retirement money was the premium, but they leveraged that $1.2 million. So instead of 1.2, they walked away with like 6-7 million.
Yeah.
Right. We paid the taxes on the $1.2 million, which is about 40%. It's a lot of money.
Yes.
But a little less than what, I mean, if you look at the numbers, if you compare the numbers, they pass away. Their children now gets 6 point whatever $1 million tax free to them, and they've just leveraged their assets without having to, just run into this whole headache of probate. As you know, insurance is not probated because whoever's the beneficiary, you present the life insurance, the death certificate, the insurance cuts the check to the beneficiaries. So there's so many different strategies, is what I'm saying, that we can throw in place. Because again, the reason we would take $1.2 million and maybe pay the taxes on that is because we know we're going to have to pay it anyways.
Yes.
And then we don't have control of the taxes, right?
No.
Whoever's in office or whatever, it's like the tax rates can go up and down.
Yeah, totally.
10%, 20%, 40%. So what we did was we were able to control the tax rate at that moment. We were able to transfer wealth over to the beneficiaries, one, tax free, and then two, we were able to leverage their assets.
Interesting.
So that's one. Yeah, that's one way.
Yeah.
And there's just so many different
ways.
other things. I mean, we can go on all day about how to transfer it over, but I think it's really important because
you don't know about it until you have to know sometimes,
I know.
Yeah.
And it's so unfortunate. It's unfortunate people don't think, because it's like you're going day to day from work. Because even for me, sometimes before I put my trust in my insurance in place, and I'm sitting here, and I didn't do it until I've been in the business, 14 years?
Yeah.
I didn't put mine in place until about 10 years into the business. And it's like, if something would have happened to me, then I didn't have it.
Yeah.
But one, it looks bad because I'm an advisor telling people what to do about their situation.
I know.
But number two, it's like, for me, it's like, okay, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Life is happening.
Sure.
So you're not really thinking, okay, hey, I'm going to go down to the estate planning attorney on Monday, blah, 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 and make sure these things are in place.
You're not thinking that far ahead. No, absolutely. Yeah.
But this is why having a financial professional
can guide you.
Right. The circle of professionals around you kind of helps hold you accountable and helps you make sure that these things are in place.
Yeah, totally. Before we transition into, not to say that financial planning isn't sexy, because I know that you brought that up. I think, for some, especially maybe for some of the business owners that are on, and listening, numbers can be interesting to them. But yes, it can be mundane. But I can't wait to dive into your Instagram and how that has increased for you. So I want to talk about that. But let's just kind of leave the audience with 3 key things that they need to be thinking about if they're not working with a financial planner right now, that they, in the top of their mind, can be like, oh, okay, I need to, dig into this, or I need to organize this. What are the 3 things that they could be doing now?
So number one, I think that obviously being proactive, having a defense game plan is really important, whether it's on your business or your personal side. When I say defense game plan, meaning that you're taking care of the what ifs in life, right?
Yeah.
So having the proper insurances in place, whether you're the breadwinner and you're replacing your paycheck, to make sure your loved ones or your dependents have some type of financial backing, something happens to you. On the business side, if you have a key partner, let's say you're 50-50 owners of one business, if something happens to you, how's your business going to run? How is it going to continue? So what's that contingency plan, all right? Number two, I would say you need to be working on some type of emergency fund, whether you're on the personal side or the business side. Okay, having lots of cash, especially when you're starting up on the business, is very important because things happen and you're still building. Obviously, we know for the personal side, things happen every single day. And I'd say number three, you should be thinking about on both sides what your retirement picture will look like.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. I mean, because people are retiring earlier and earlier, and then we're living longer and longer
Yeah.
because of the advancement of technology. So I think you need to be thinking about what's your game plan for that, and how are you going to sustain yourself with the statistically proven longer livelihood or longer life living after.
Yeah. Yeah. This is awesome. Thanks for that, Jasmine. So
You're
let's
welcome.
talk. Let's talk Instagram. You did bring up an important part, which I think is so relevant to many different industries like yours, I think legal, I think medical. I think everybody who thought that Instagram wasn't for them is really a place for them in terms of breaking through the noise, specifically as like TikTok started to grow and become a little bit more frantic in terms of, dispersed of information. There is a lot of stuff that's out there that is not accurate, is not relevant, can, maybe steer somebody in a different direction. So let's talk about, how you plan out your Instagram feed and really like the relevance and the importance of the content that you push out and how truly that has also supported you from a growth standpoint as well as, lead gen and gaining new clients.
So first off, the internet is such a powerful tool, right? It's connected like me with personal relationships, business relationships. It's just really, if you're in business, no matter what business you're in, you should be on the internet
Yeah.
or social media, using it to leverage. I will say because I've been like one of those ones. Well, I don't understand why people are posting what they ate today. I don't understand why you had to post where they are. Like I never understood it until I said, okay, you know what? I want to reach more people,
Yeah.
right? I want to be able to duplicate myself. So if I'm in front of a client and I'm talking to this client about retirement planning, I could be leveraging myself and posting something where like thousands of people can see and click my calendar link, and I could be setting appointments while I'm in front of the client.
Sure.
So for me, it was one of those things where, okay, I wanted to leverage myself and grow the business. I think that like we talked about earlier, there is a lot of noise. So I was concerned and very hesitant about posting because it's like, for one, I am in a highly regulated industry. So a lot of my content is super generic and general. And because of that, I've gotten fun with it. I call myself Beyonce of financial
Yeah.
services. For one, I have a personal love for her
Yeah.
simply because of her work ethic. She's just amazing. I think she's awesome.
Absolutely.
And the love and the value that she brings to her people, and that's kind of where I feel like I relate to her. But anyways, being highly regulated, I have to be careful. So I don't throw out investment recommendations. You will not see me throw out particular recommendations, but it'll be like little tidbits that you can take on and say, hey, she's making a point. I think I might want to sit down with her because this relates to my situation. Let me go ahead and click the calendar link and get
Yeah.
on with her. I've seen a lot of growth in that space. Um, I'm not sure if that answers your question.
No, it
Um,
totally answered the question.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I think that I mean the internet is just such a powerful tool. I think every business owner, I don't care what industry you're in, you should definitely be using the benefits of social media.
Totally. Not only just using it, but correcting, information that's out there that, as we mentioned, could be detrimental to somebody, or maybe somebody's putting out information to your point, like you're in a highly regulated industry that they shouldn't be, right?
Right,
And kind of steering somebody in a completely wrong direction that could have financial implications, but also maybe potential legal implications, right?
correct, correct.
So I think that not only like is it great for you from the standpoint of building awareness, but I also think that you're doing good from that standpoint as well to be able to make sure that the right information is out there to support those that you're, hoping to support as well.
And thank you for that. And this is the thing. I think like people, obviously, people do understand the benefits of the internet, and they do realize, okay, it's all of it. Right now, it's all about making money in my sleep, making money in my sleep, making money in my sleep. So let me just put anything out there. Let me say something to like jar at them or to
Yeah.
trigger them to purchase my product. And I think people use it all, so they get a little greedy, you
Sure.
know. And because of that, it also, it does trigger or makes people do things that are not in the best interest of the public,
I completely
right?
agree.
So we have to talk about that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that obviously for me, it's just all about bringing value. Bring value. Sometimes, you know, when I first started posting, I think I started in 2021, 2020, I don't remember. But I wasn't getting a lot of traction as far as people wanting to reach out and talk to me or me coming out and speaking.
Yeah.
Um, but eventually, you keep bringing that value, it's gonna come around. Your investment is gonna
100%.
turn. It's definitely gonna
100%. I completely agree
turn.
with you. I love
So
it.
that's
I love it. Well, this has been such a great pleasure, Jasmine. Thank you so much. Tell us where we can find you and follow you on the Beyonce of the finance world on Instagram.
yes, yes, yes. So it is on Instagram. That's the only platform that I'm using. It's I am Jasmine JasmineC like cat Glover Glover. Yes, I am Jasmine C. Glover. That is the only
Perfect.
platform that I have. But from there, you guys can schedule a consultation, reach out to me, DM me, and I am very responsive. So that's
I
all
love
about
it.
me.
I love it. This is fantastic. Well, thank you again, Jasmine. This has been such a lucrative conversation and hopefully, helpful to the audience. I'm sure it will be from the standpoint of really learning how to manage their money.
Thank you, Sasha. I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.